Yeah, Billy Key is League Two's top goal scorer. He told BBC Sport earlier this season about his struggles with anxiety and depression. He described them as the rat in my head that won't stop. Anyway, the Accrington Stanley manager John Coleman was delighted with his frontman Billy Key.
Walcott's gone a long way to helping turn and achieve the golden booty. Maybe disappointed he only got 2 tonight. But he's such a terrific character. He was absolutely magnificent tonight. He summed us up. He set the tone. He led the charge with the charge of Light Brigade. He was at the front.
Loads of EFL action last night. Wigan moved 3 points clear at the top of League One. Will Griggs scored his 25th of the season in a 1-0 win over Oxford. And also last night, referee Peter Banks was confronted by a fan on the field after giving Rochdale a penalty in their 0-0 draw with Oldham. Oldham's Anthony Gerrard, Stephen Gerrard's cousin, stepped in to stop the assailant. Also in football, Leicester boss Claude Puel says the England defender Harry Maguire is not for sale. He's been linked with Manchester United, Manchester City and Tottenham.
I want to build my team around him. He needs to continue to improve. It's a young player with fantastic attributes, international player, and it's important to give him a good feeling for the future and to build around him a good team.
Everton have asked their supporters to rate Sam Allardyce's performance on a scale of 0 to 10. The survey is designed to discover how connected fans feel to the club. They've also been asked about a number of other factors around the club as well. Allardyce has guided Everton away from relegation trouble, but there is growing unrest at Goodison over their style of play. On 5 Live Sport tonight, we have a special programme on Pep Guardiola from 7. That's followed by the EuroLeague's football show from 8:30. And 5 Live Track and Field will preview the London Marathon from 9:30. Mo Farah goes in the big race on Sunday morning, but insists he's not the favourite.
It's nice to have that support. People just think that you're going to win every race. But, the track, yes, I did do that, and I've done it for a number of years over decades.
Accrington Stanley. 1989, Ian Rush was the footballer they were talking about. Imagine Ian Rush does have played at the Stanley.
He knew what it was.
He certainly did. It was on TV for 5 or 6 years, so I remember it when I was a kid, and I probably wouldn't have remembered it if it was only on in 89.
It's amazing how those old adverts resonate with whatever generation you are, and it's very stringent advertising standard. So you couldn't say something like 1 million housewives every day pick up a tin of beans and say whatever, because it's a very precise figure and you can't prove it.
Exactly, yeah.
And also, this night you can eat between meals without ruining your appetite.
But you know the thing that I would say about that advert now is the milk advert, the Stanley advert, is that now they're in the 3rd tier of English football. I don't think if you just drink milk, you'll be good enough to play football.
No. Not even
think you have to do it all.
Not even a Milky Bar kid. I mean, when you were younger, you'd have been a good Milky Bar.
I did have white hair when I was younger. Yeah, that's right. Really, really blonde hair. I did, yeah. I did have little spectacles as well.
You were the Milky Bar. Here's Simon King with the weather.
Well, I can give you some very good news today with the weather-wise, because it's going to turn very warm and very sunny across many parts of the UK. Now, this morning, we start off with some sunshine in the southeast of England and the northeast. Cooler temperatures down just by a degree or so in the north and the west. Down to the southeast, temperatures up to 26 degrees, so another very warm day. As we go into Friday and the weekend, again, temperatures just down a little bit, but lots of fine and dry weather with lots of sunshine around. And if you're running or even spectating for the London Marathon, bear in mind that we're looking at temperatures on Sunday about 23 or 24 degrees Celsius. Now that could make it the warmest London Marathon record. So dehydrate if you're running.
Dehydrate?
Yeah. What did I say?
Dehydrate.
Dehydrate? Yeah.
Didn't mean rehydrate.
Rehydrate, yes, I did mean that. Yeah. You might dehydrate, so rehydrate. Sorry, that is
I very rarely hear that stuff. For once, I managed to pick somebody up. 7:41.
This is BBC 5 Live, available on the BBC iPlayer radio app. 5 Live Breakfast with Nikki Campbell and Rachel Burton.
Very good morning to you. Yes, here I am. It's 7:41.
Wonderful stories coming. NHS volunteers.
Yeah, did you know what today, Nikki, is a bit of a snapshot of the way the NHS works in this country at the moment, and I think that's what we're trying to bring you. But also, we're focusing very much on the fact that the NHS relies increasingly these days on the support of volunteers coming in and giving up their time and helping out the clinical staff, freeing the clinical staff up to do their jobs and offering where people do have family and friends to come and visit them, sometimes having somebody who's been there and in that position before, it makes all the difference to provide that kind of helping hand and that emotional support in many ways. Another one here, and please can we make a mention for the absolutely amazing volunteer drivers who support the NHS, who get up at 5:30 in the morning to collect me and take patients like me to hospitals for early morning appointments and travel miles a day, providing an invaluable service and always with a smile. They are amazing. Thank you, says Sarah from Aylesbury. Just to tell you where we are at the moment, we're on Majors B, which is a kind of spillover from the emergency department. If I walk down a little bit here, it's actually been quite a quiet night in the emergency department, with paramedics hanging around here, hospital staff, representatives from the Met Police as well here this morning, which will be fairly typical, and along in the bay that we're in at the moment, no patients here, so we're not hopefully getting in the way of anyone. But we did come down yesterday. We met some of the volunteers who give up their time to come here, including Annie, the wonderful Annie Houseago, who is a musician. She plays the guitar and she sings with kids. And she introduced us to one of the most special patients they have here in King's College Hospital. But I caught up with her first of all as she sat on a blanket surrounded by musical instruments, playing and singing songs to two little boys, an 8-month-old and a 2-year-old.
Great big elephants wash his pants, rubber down here and a rubber I'm the person that comes in and doesn't stick a needle in them and take their temperature or anything like that. We're just going to have some fun. Quite often I see regular ones, and we try and build up a relationship with them, which is lovely, and they look forward to seeing it every week.
Do they recognise you when they come in? Do they see your guitar? Do they recognise the music?
Definitely, and they get very, very excited. You'll see a little one in a moment who will get very excited when I walk in the door.
Excellent.
Who's a little bit older. I've just been on another ward and I've seen 4 children who I've never met before. And we just gently introduced ourselves and said, would you like some music? Take your mind off things. And we had a lovely time. And also sometimes you have little brothers and sisters there visiting. There was a little 2-year-old brother there on the other ward, and he was having a lovely time. And again, I just made a big fuss of the big brother saying, look, big brother must have taught you this, and just took his mind off being where he was. So we have a little ritual with a little girl that I'm about to see that I've seen every week for about 2.5 years. And Jackie knocks on the door and says, hello, is there anybody there? Would you like to see somebody? And she knows that I'm coming at this time every Tuesday. And so sometimes, usually she says, yes, please, we'd love to. But other times, she'd rather do colouring. So she will just draw on her pad and do colouring. But when I go in, she really wants to do singing, really. So I have to pretend that I'm not really singing, that I am really colouring, but she wants the singing, really.
She has been on the ward since birth. She has no concept of outside world, things that we take for granted, like the weather, fresh air, traffic, just the general normal things, rain, breeze on your face. She has no concept of these things. You don't really get sing-alongs in HDU intensive care, so yeah, it is out of the ordinary, and it's fun for them, and it's something different, because their days here could be quite mundane if you don't try and break it up and make something different. So yeah, Annie offers something totally different.
To who they are as people, because they're veterans of the sport, and to see someone like me that's new come in and do well, it's been really cool. They've been so welcoming.
But you're having to get about what time to train for the marathon before doing a full-time job?
I usually get up at 4 in the morning.
4 in the morning, you can present this program.
Yeah, exactly.
That is extraordinary. And you've just got a little bit of money as a result of this, haven't you? You tempted to take it up full time?
Yeah, I plan on continuing to work as a nurse anesthetist. I absolutely love my job. I think it's probably one of the most rewarding things I could do long term. But I'd love to see what I could do long term in running. So thankfully running is a sport where I think I can continue to pursue both careers and kind of see where both can take me.
So the message to those elite runners is watch out, Sarah Sellers is taking marathon seriously.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it was a little bit of a statement.
Yeah, well, you certainly did make a statement. We're delighted you joined us on the programme. Keep running, keep nursing. Thank you for joining us, Sarah Sellers.
The time is now 11 minutes to 8. Time for Thought for the Day. And with us this morning, Sheldon MacDonald, who is a Christian writer, works in international development. Good morning to you.
Good morning. I was 9 years old when Stephen Lawrence was stabbed to death less than half a mile from my front door. For years afterwards, I couldn't walk past the bus stop where his life was so tragically cut short without thinking about him. His death changed the way that black immigrant families like mine felt about our new home. In an instant, it seemed we were no longer welcome. We felt vulnerable and conspicuous. We feared similar racist attacks on people we knew, people like us. Stephen Lawrence's murder not only changed the atmosphere for those of us living in Eltham in South East London at the time, but in the 25 years that have followed, it has turned out to be a defining moment in our nation's history. Following the initial failure of the criminal justice system to convict the people responsible for their son's death, Doreen and Neville Lawrence campaigned for justice for a number of years until Jack Straw commissioned the Macpherson report. When it was published 6 years after the stabbing, it branded the Metropolitan Police as institutionally racist in its handling of his murder. But from this tragedy, there has come hope for others. Systemic changes in the way racially motivated crimes are investigated hopefully means that other families will get justice. In the 3-part documentary Stephen, The Murder That Changed a Nation, which began last night on BBC One, director James Rogan said he wanted the viewers to feel the Lawrence family's emotions as we mark 25 years since the tragedy. Yes, the murder brought about changes for good, but at the heart of the story is a family left heartbroken by a senseless crime, a wholly unnecessary death. And yet, in the middle of this heartbreak, Stephen's father Neville Lawrence has said that he forgives his son's killers. There are times when I question my faith, but when I hear stories like this, of people ready to forgive in the face of cruelty and injustice and murder and loss, I am knocked sideways. It persuades me that there is some higher purpose than that which we see. Because forgiveness in light of these acts of hatred makes no sense. As Holocaust survivor Corrie ten Boom says, forgiveness is an act of the will, and the will can function regardless of the temperature of the heart. There is a cognitive dissonance in this decision to forgive, which rails against our sense of justice. It lets people off the hook when they don't deserve it, but it is precisely because of this that I find forgiveness beautiful and profound. It is extravagant in its generosity. It is unnecessary in its mercy. It speaks to me of the open-armed nature of a God who is full of compassion. Perhaps a bit more compassion is what's needed from each of us in the everyday encounters of our ordinary lives.
And that was Thought for the Day with Jenny MacDonald. The time is 8 minutes to 8.
First, the good economic news. The squeeze on wages has come to an end. Just. Figures out yesterday showed pay going up just faster than inflation for the first time in many years. Now the bad, what bad that is if you're a borrower rather than a saver, that trend is confirmed by the publication of inflation figures later today, expected to show a small drop. The Bank of England may well decide to raise interest rates for only the second time in a decade. So what do we need to make of this economic news? Sir John Keefe used to be one of those who set the interest rates when he was Deputy Governor of the Bank of England, and he joins us in the studio. Morning to you. Should we, do you think, be celebrating this tiny, real pay rise, or should we be sitting around puzzling with unemployment so low, immigration starting to come down just a little? Why isn't pay going up faster?
Well, I agree. That is the puzzle. Yes, it's marginally good news. It's edged slightly above inflation. That's not very significant in itself. That was bad.
Oh, I'll give you a mail today. Britain defies the gloomy IMF. It says, pointing to lots of sort of good bits of economic news. Plenty of other people saying, well, look, compared with the rest of the globe, Britain's economy is sluggish. How do you read it?
Well, I think that's right. I mean, there's nothing to suggest the IMF forecast of output growth, which is around 1.5% this year, is going to be too low. I mean, it is growth. There hasn't been a massive recession in that sense, the response to Brexit and so on was perhaps less stark than some people expected. But our growth has slowed down at a time when the rest of Europe and indeed the rest of the advanced world has been accelerating. So this year we're expecting 1.5% growth-ish, as opposed to 2% in Europe and 2.5% to 3% in the US.
On the other hand, I guess leavers would say, compared with what they call Project Fair, unemployment's at a 45-year low. The economy is still growing. The medium-term forecast is to grow faster than Germany. So maybe Brexit is causing less of a problem than people like yourself thought.
Well, it hasn't happened yet, of course. There were two risks in Brexit. One was that the surprise results of the referendum would cause a sudden shock to the economy. That didn't happen. The second risk was that by reducing our trade links with our major markets, or putting some impediments in the way of our trading with our biggest markets, they would reduce investment and growth in the long term. That remains what most economists are expecting, and we'll have to wait and see. But at the moment, that seems on track.
There is a bigger global context, of course, which is what's happening and coming from the White House. On the one hand, unfunded tax cuts on a huge scale. On the other, certainly talk of, and the beginnings of, a massive trade war. Again, something of a puzzle, isn't it, that the forecast for global growth is still good in the face of all that?
Well, that's right. I mean, the thing about economic forecasts, like weather forecasts, is that they're always wrong. The world's too complex to capture everything, so you continually have to update it. So far, the forecasters don't see the threatening words and threats of trade sanctions as really putting a spanner in the works. But they could, of course they could. At any time in the next month, we could have a real trade war on, and then everyone would change their forecasts.
Now, Deputy Governors of the Bank of England, even former ones, are not paid to give financial advice, but if you're a listener, it sounds like you'd still be a tad cautious before betting on good economic news.
Yes, I think we shouldn't have disastrous news unless there's a massive trade war, but we're expecting rather dull growth for the next few years.
Sir John Heath, thank you very much indeed.
And the man who bravely listened to all that about the weather forecast always being wrong.
Do you remember the days of wildcat strikes, John?
I'm sure John will be happy to take over your weather forecast if you want him to.
No.
It doesn't go.
No. Talking of closed shops, a very good morning to, first of all, to England and Wales. Sunny skies abound across the southeastern quarter of England, particularly at the moment. They will urge their way ever further north and west, which will come as good news if you're starting today in Wales and the northwest of England. For here, you've had enough cloud for there to be bits and pieces of rain. It's generally really rather leaden-skied and murky. Quite breezy too through the Irish Sea coast. All of that will improve come this afternoon. It's not quite jammed tomorrow, it's jammed this afternoon in fact, and we're looking at highs of around about 16 on the western shores, fully exposed to that breeze, 24 or 25 elsewhere across the East Anglia and the southeast. Pretty warm for the time of year. Northern Ireland, not quite as cheery here, a dry enough start, but there's rain on the way, and that will clear